All right, I'm just going to come out and say it. I feel like OpenAI has lost the mandate. And all right, so you might say, like, okay, what is the mandate? I've heard people say this, or maybe you haven't heard people say this. It's a kind of a niche or niche. How do you pronounce niche? Is it niche or niche? When I grew up, it was niche, but then I heard someone from New York say niche. I guess it's a more French saying. Anyways, sorry for the tangent. The niche idea was that, or the meme was that OpenAI had the mandate of heaven. So that is a take from ancient Chinese culture where a ruling dynasty had the mandate of heaven, which was kind of a teleological mandate that, hey, the heavens, the universe has blessed us with the power and the ability to capture the empire, so therefore it is our right to rule. It was similar but different to the Western idea of a divine right. But if a family lost the mandate, then you'd have a civil war, and someone else would find the mandate of heaven and become the ruler of China. And so the idea, and that's the historical context. So then that was applied to OpenAI because for a while it seemed like no one could knock OpenAI off their perch. Every time someone came out with something, OpenAI would come out with something better. And Sam Altman seemed to be completely stainless. He was made out of Teflon, so on and so forth. So when I say that OpenAI has lost the mandate, one, there's no consensus on this. This is just my personal opinion. And, everyone's got an opinion, and they're like, if you know the saying, if you know, you know. But this is my opinion. And so let me just tell you why, like, where am I coming from? And, if you follow me on social media anywhere, you know that I'm constantly complaining about every chatbot. I'm letting my inner curmudgeon come out. It's not that I'm a techno skeptic. I'm completely techno optimist, but I'm also by nature a late adopter. Like when I started updating my electronics because my old Bluetooth like plug-in thing, it was basically the equivalent of your grandpa's ancient radio, died, and I went to Best Buy and I'm like, what are all these newfangled things that are these waterproof cylinders and so on and so forth? Like I just want a radio shaped Bluetooth speaker for my house, and those just don't exist anymore. They're all battery powered and they're all mobile, and you plug them in with USB. So like that's the kind of grumpy curmudgeon that I am, and so that's why I'm always like, this thing doesn't work. On a previous team I had an architect whose dad was always like, it should be like a toaster, it should just be simple and straightforward. Anyways, getting off on a tangent again. So the evidence that I have that OpenAI has lost the mandate is, number one, Anthropic is eating their lunch in enterprise. You might have noticed, and I think I pointed this out in a previous video, but you might have noticed that OpenAI's their dev day streams are much more like sanitized. They're less hyperbolic. They're more just like, this is what we're doing for developers, and this is business adoption, and here's some data, and then that's it. There's no more hype. There's no more excitement. So one of the reasons behind that, I think, is because they're trying to be taken seriously by enterprise more. Anthropic has 40% of the enterprise market share compared to OpenAI's only 20%. And this, of course, a few years ago, OpenAI dominated both enterprise and consumer. Now, OpenAI has only 40% of the consumer market. They're still the biggest single player, but it was 80% a few years ago. So on balance, all these other competitors have come up. And if you might remember a couple of years ago, Sam Altman said that, not OpenAI, but AI was going to generate $100 trillion and that OpenAI was going to capture most of it. And it's just like, okay, buddy, keep dreaming. But, as we have discovered, there is literally no moat on the fundamental technology, which is really interesting because when you think high tech, you think really, really deep moats. Take chips, for instance. I watch Anastasia in Tech pretty frequently, not every single video, but she's made a couple videos in the last month that talk about just how difficult it is to make chips, to the point, and I didn't realize this, to the point that your chip plants have to be finely calibrated to purify the water that is local to your area, because that you have to have the water that is so ultra pure. Otherwise, your chips are just not going to work. And so all the chip fabs that are in Taiwan and TSMC, their facilities are finely calibrated for the water that they have access to there. But now that they're moving chip fabs to America, they have to completely reinvent the process of purifying that water. Maybe not fully reinvent, but it has to be finely calibrated. And it's like, wow. that amount of know-how and infrastructure and tribal knowledge, that alone is an extremely deep moat for chips. However, with artificial intelligence, with transformers, the data is all out there. And now, of course, with synthetic data, that's no moat. And then, of course, all the algorithms, China publishes algorithms, America publishes algorithms, universities publish algorithms, frontier labs all publish algorithms. And then plus you've got the churn in Silicon Valley. And so what I mean by that is in California specifically, non-compete agreements are illegal, meaning that's why you see those billion-dollar poaching deals. So, if XAI wants someone, if Meta wants someone, you just buy them. And I don't mean like buy them like chattel, but I mean you just say like you just write a check for, $100 million or $1 billion to say, I want your expertise. So there is no intellectual moat around this stuff, and there's no other physical moat. So therefore, the only differentiating factor is going to be market share and quality. Like, okay, yes, you've got some alchemy going on with the training data and the algorithms and the post-training and that sort of thing, but OpenAI really isn't holding up. And the deep irony here. So this is one of the core drivers, I think, of OpenAI losing the mandate, is that Anthropic has been super safety focused. They're super safety pilled. Now, I think that they're going overboard with some of their safety research, like model poisoning and model welfare research. That is stuff that I think does need to be done. But the fact that they're doing it through the lens of effective altruism and rationalism and the doomers, I think is incorrect. But at the same time, you can't fault them, because one of the things that I have talked about for the last couple of years, when you talk about like the evolution of AI, like what are the market forces that are going to be selecting this? And one thing that I said is that enterprises, governments, and military, they want your AI to be extremely reliable. And what does that mean? Safe. That means you know exactly what it's doing and what it's not doing and what it can't do, and you can control exactly how it behaves, which is exactly what Anthropic is researching. So, they're concerned about X risk because they're super safety pilled, but at the same time, that is giving them a huge advantage in the enterprise space, which is one of the big reasons I think that it has such higher enterprise adoption. OpenAI was the default choice, and their stuff is still good. And they're always like, we maximize this coding bench. But the numbers don't lie. When Anthropic has twice the market share of OpenAI, despite being more expensive, that tells you something. That tells you that level of safety and reliability and other stuff that is not necessarily represented on the benchmarks, that is a differentiating factor. So you've got that on one side. And then for me personally, Gemini has become my daily driver, even though I have an OpenAI Pro subscription. Why? Because Gemini doesn't lose track of conversations. It's not pedantic. And it has something else. There's this je ne sais quoi of the way that a model works. Because last year, for a good chunk of the year, Anthropic, Claude was my daily driver, just because it had that je ne sais quoi about that made it better than better than OpenAI tools. And now Gemini has surpassed it. And by the way, Gemini 3.0 is about to come out. OpenAI just released GPT-5 a couple months ago. They're not ready to release anything else. So then you say, okay, well, what has OpenAI been releasing? They released Sora, which is a slop generator. I don't know about you, but I used Sora for a little bit, and I'm like, okay, this is fun. But then, all the guardrails came down. The quality is good for some things, but it's not perfect. The audio sounds a little grainy, and there's still quite a few video artifacts. And even when you give it a very specific description, it often does its own thing. So it's just like, and honestly, by the way, GPT-5, one of my biggest complaints is that sometimes it will choose its own adventure. It's like I give it a very specific prompt, and I'm like, okay, this is what I want to solve, and then it will give me something that I didn't ask for. Gemini doesn't do that. Gemini stays on task. And so then they also do Pulse, and I have had Pulse activated for a couple days, and it basically just gives you like a 3-paragraph summary of the conversations that you had. I'm like, this is not helpful. This is nothing new. This is not a synthesis. So they're rather than focusing on fundamental model performance and UX, they're getting distracted with all these other shiny things, and that tells me that they've kind of lost their way. And the thing is, what I've also said is that it's not that GPT-5 is a stupid model. It's very smart, but whatever it is in their post training, their system prompt, whatever it is that they've changed, they're not handling safety that well, and they're not handling UX that well. Another thing, but wait, there's more, is I need to emphasize that I'm not betting against OpenAI. I've learned better than to do that. That's not that like OpenAI is going to implode or whatever. They're here to stay. That's for sure. As far as I can tell, they're not going anywhere, and they are only going to get bigger and more important. But they're only becoming more important as every other AI company is becoming more important. They have a lot of headwinds though. And that's mostly in data centers and GPUs. We always hear all the drama about Sam Altman, like, oh, Stargate X got canceled, and Sam Altman has to go to Saudi Arabia to get funding. Guess who doesn't have to go to Saudi Arabia to get funding or to get their data centers built? Google, Microsoft, Meta, xAI, all these companies with much deeper pockets. And and speaking of GPUs, guess who's been making their own TPUs for more than a decade? Google. So it's like these bigger incumbents, and by the way, this is not corporate bootlicking. I am the first person who's going to be skeptical of corporate hegemony. I can't say that word. Hegemony. Anyways, but at the same time, just look, taking the facts at face value, OpenAI doesn't have those headwinds, or OpenAI has those headwinds that these other companies don't. And these other competitors, for better or worse, are doing really well. I'm still very skeptical of Grok. I don't think that Elon knows what he's doing, but with a lot of money and a lot of effort and iteration, maybe he'll figure it out. He figured out SpaceX with a lot of rapid iteration. Zuckerberg, it remains to be seen if Meta will catch up. It still seems like, his idea of superintelligence is just a better Reels algorithm, but we'll see. But that still leaves Google and Microsoft, and Google has Gemini and DeepMind, and they're doing some crazy stuff, like crazy good stuff. And where I'll end is the inspiration for making this video was just yesterday. Microsoft announced that they had created a 27 billion parameter foundation model, which 27 billion parameters, that's relatively small by today's standards. 27 billion parameter foundation model that proposed a novel not treatment, but a novel understanding of cancer, and then it was validated. And that's okay. That's the kind of thing that you would have expected only from OpenAI, where they're like, look at what we've done. But in my personal experience, even Gemini has better clinical judgment than GPT-5 does. Just for helping me recover from chronic illness and burnout. And it's like, okay, they're doing something different. And this goes back to what Sam Altman said. I think it was about 6 to 12 months ago. I don't remember when he said it exactly. But he said, Google should have been the winner by default. And it turns out they're in my opinion, they have overtaken OpenAI in all the ways that matter, which is actual usability and market position. And Google has the data. They've got the data centers. They've got the chips. So, yeah, and again, it's not over till it's over, and it's never going to be over. The game keeps playing. But I do think that OpenAI has lost the mandate. Something has shifted. The market is maturing. And, yeah, that's just my thoughts. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.